Okay, we are back. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Vibrant You. Today is a very special episode. I am here with my dear friend, Ashley Beasley, an intuition and empowerment guide for clarity and purpose, and also just a long term friend of mine. I think, Ash, you and I have been friends. I was doing some math this morning. I think it's been 8 years already. So we go way, way back to our ashram days of hanging out for months of the year in total silence, meditating 10 to 12 hours a day in the ashram and pilgrimaging from temple to temple. So we've had so much adventure and so much just soul seeking together. And I just love you as a sister so, so much. You are truly one of just the most inspiring, devoted, truth seeking, wise humans that I know. And I'm just so grateful for you being here and sharing all your wisdom with us today.
Thank you, Bindi. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Oh, so exciting.
Mhm.
Well, today we are getting into the journey of purpose. This is your magic. And I'd love to just start out with hearing a bit of who you are and what you do and why you do it.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think it's really appropriate and funny that we have been friends for so long and we are having this conversation around purpose, 8 or 9 years later. I think when we first met, you were a yoga teacher in Canada, about to be a yoga teacher in Bali. And we were talking to coordinate your travel over and to come and work on retreats in Bali. And, I was also in that journey of purpose. And I think over time our journey of purpose changes so much. So anyway, just wanted to circle that back to our relationship and just notate how beautiful it is that we're having that conversation. You introduced me beautifully. Thank you so much for that. I'm Ashley and I do intuition and empowerment coaching. Another way of saying it is I do Akashic frequency work. I use the Akashic records to help identify and release people's blocks and challenges and distortion patterns. And I also live in Costa Rica now in a little town called Pavones. It's on the Pacific side in the south of Costa Rica. And I lived in Southeast Asia for 9 years with you, doing yoga and also self-development retreats. And yeah, so my journey through this sort of Akashic frequency work thing that I'm doing now has been also kind of a journey into my own self-awareness and my own question of who am I and how can I be of service in the highest way. And so through that journey, I went from doing film work in Los Angeles to teaching yoga in Thailand and then Bali and getting really deep into, as you mentioned, meditation and, traditional Indian esoteric sort of yoga practices, then on into more sort of mainstream self-development work, and then on to this sort of like energy frequency work thing where I'm helping people release their blocks through, raising their vibration and tuning into a different frequency that helps identify what is challenging them most. And so now in Costa Rica, I'm not only doing that in my work, but also helping people organize retreats at this beautiful little resort that I live nearby. And yeah, that's sort of my journey into that.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, Ash, I feel like you are one of the people that I know has had so many different lifetimes. Like when I think back of your journey and when I first met you, and I'm even hearing like layers before I met you of your work before, it's so amazing to hear how you've had so many purposes in life. And yet there's like a deeper mission underneath of it that purpose, that underlying current of purpose, and that journey has had so many different expressions and chapters and places in the world in which that purpose has really been expressed. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this. What does it actually mean to live your purpose? Because you've been purpose driven your whole life, but you've had so many different ways of expressing that purpose. So what does it actually mean to live your purpose?
Yeah, good question. For me personally, the journey of purpose started with the question of who am I? It wasn't deliberately who am I? I wasn't actually thinking to myself that question when I was seeking. But I think if people are listening to this podcast right now and they're interested in purpose and they're also, asking that question on some level to themselves. So, for example, the question, who am I, can show up as, is what I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing? What I'm doing right now is presenting a certain amount of resistance for me, and I am feeling resistance to what I'm doing right now, whether that be in, a relationship or a family dynamic or a job. And what am I supposed to be doing? So it raises up all of these other questions of, for example, free will versus determined future. What is our destiny versus our free will? And how much does each of those play into our lives? And yeah, and also, as you mentioned, I think it really changes over time. Like, the more we grow into awareness of who we are, the more we can apply our skills in a way that is of a higher level of service. And that could be in like moment to moment awareness, like what is the purpose of us coming together right now in this conversation versus what is my bigger life purpose? Am I meant to birth children, or am I meant to birth a book that is going to release some information into the world that's really important that people need to know? Or, is my presence, just me being here on this earth, enough? And is that purpose enough? So I think it raises a lot of questions of like, do we have like an innate purpose that we're meant to like live out? Or are we finding more out about our purpose every moment, and, how that purpose shows up in, the way it's expressed, like you mentioned, job titles, or whether we have children or not, and what we are birthing, or etc.
Oh, I love that. That's so juicy. Yeah, I'm kind of hearing that purpose is so wide and so vast, and that in any given moment, we can be presented with this choice to connect more deeply to who we truly are, to live in greater alignment. And that's like moment to moment of in this conversation right here, and how I interact with, the plumber that's coming over later today to fix my Bali plumbing, or how I interact with my partner on a day-to-day basis. But also that there's layers of it that are like a deeper life purpose of like, who am I? Why am I here? What is the greatest impact that I can make in this world? And how can I be a vessel for God or the divine or my higher self, really to bring that purpose through me into the world, to make the world a better place? And for some people, that might be becoming a mama and raising the next generation. For the next person, it's owning their own business and making a lot of money. For the next person, it's quitting their 9 to 5 and surrendering everything and going to India and, doing this whole pilgrimage experience. So one thing that came up as I was hearing you share is like, it sounds like there's very clear signs of what it means to live in purpose or in alignment with purpose, and what it means to live out of alignment. I'm curious if you could tell us, like, in moments in your life or that you see with your clients, how do you know if you're living in your purpose, and how do you know if you're not? What are some of the signs that show up?
Oh my gosh, that is such a good question. The first thing that comes to my mind is resistance. Resistance can show up because it's like a sign that is showing us where we're in integrity and where we're out of integrity and what we need to look at. Maybe it could be like where there's like some boundary that's being crossed that we're not looking at, or that we're not aware of and that we're not communicating, for example. I think a lot of that happens in terms of like when people show up to work. This could change in so many ways because resistance comes up. You are being challenged by your boss or by the obligations that your work is putting on you, or your life is out of balance somehow or some way with your work situation. And what is that bringing up to you? Does it mean that this isn't your purpose and you need to, like you said, quit your 9 to 5 and go away? Or is it some sort of perspective shift or something? Like, do you really need to throw the baby out with the bathwater? Or is this just something that you need to work on and readjust to express your boundaries in a way that is supporting you and your life and helping you move forward? I think resistance is a good thing to look at. Resistance helps you define your boundaries, and our boundaries help us define our identity in a way, and also where we're at and where our growth edges are and where we're meant to stay and where we're meant to grow and expand, and the timing of all of that. I think there's a lot to be said about that.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, the resistance piece feels so on point. You touched on that as well as like there's like natural resistance, as in like, okay, I know that I'm so living my purpose in the work that I'm doing. And yet with certain parts of my business, I'm like, I don't like accounting. I have resistance to the accounting part of my business, and that just feels there's like a natural, like, there's just like a part of it, an element of it, but it doesn't feel like a big deal. But I'm remembering with a recent job, right? I remember being presented with an opportunity to grow in this organization and kind of like, I don't know if you'd call it like be promoted. And I remember that when I was presented with this opportunity, my entire system sank. Like it was like something hit me in the stomach, and it was meant to be this like beautiful opportunity and this opportunity to grow and to expand. And up here in my head, I was like, this is good news. This is amazing. But my whole system and my whole body, like my stomach just sank, and I had this pit in my stomach. And immediately I knew like, this is over. This was my purpose for such a long time, but there's something else that life is calling me into. And I didn't know what that was at the time, but I knew that I needed to trust that intuition and that knowing. It sounds like there can be natural resistance, but there's something intuitive going on that helps us really assess what is in alignment with our purpose and what isn't. I know you are like the queen of intuition. I'm curious if you can share with us what comes up intuitively, or how to decipher what's going through our bodies and our minds in the presence of exploring our purpose, and how we can connect to our intuition in that.
I would like to back up and ask you, when you got that sinking feeling in your body in relation to this new job opportunity, what did that say to you again? Did that say that the job opportunity was something that you wanted to go for or not?
Okay, love this. So there was actually two, and I can really clearly see and feel the differences. One job opportunity that came up, it was a complete sinking heaviness, pit in my stomach. Yeah, vibration of just like pure anxiety through my body. That was like, no, it was just an immediate like, no, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel right. And then another opportunity came over like a week later, just like landed in my lap. This amazing opportunity. And there was similar sensations in my stomach, but instead of a pit, it was butterflies. There was like a little bit of like, ooh, imposter syndrome, a little bit of like, can I really hold all this? This feels big. This feels edgy. But it was a full body yes, even with the little bit of resistance that was like, ooh, this feels big. I'm a little bit nervous. But there was a clear difference. It was a butterflies versus a pit. It was like an excitement in my nerves versus an anxiety. What would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it is really important to understand as much as we can on subtler levels what those differences are. And I think the important part is to notice what we're afraid of and notice if there is fear there, and if what we're going towards is love, or if we're running away from something. Is it fear? Is it love that's motivating me? So you have to understand what your motivations are. It's so hard for us with the balance of boundaries and also wanting to expand, because how much do we push our boundaries and how much can we surrender and let go into expansion? I think our boundaries will keep us safe, but there's also, a tricky part of that our boundaries can also keep us stuck in fear sometimes. So we need to actually release those distortions. We need to go into those feelings and find what works for us. And there are lots of different modalities out there, lots of different people who can help us, and different things that we can try that helps us release the anxiety that's associated with that thing, so we can actually make a clear decision. Like, for example, tapping. Tapping is a great modality to use to release stuck emotions or anxiety, for example. In relation to that specific emotion, anxiety, tapping and EFT is really good to do. And it just helps clear all that stuff out so that we can come back to our center and realize, okay, actually, what's the real deal here? Can I actually feel into my center? Can I center myself and ground myself and then make like a decision that feels aligned in all ways? And that's another, topic of conversation, I'd say, is like, what does it mean to feel aligned? But yeah, like tapping, for example, if you feel that and you need to like go for an ocean swim or go get a massage or get some frequency work done, some energy work done to clear those fears and anxieties, so you can actually tap into something that feels good, like you said.
Ooh, I love that. That feels so important. I know when I feel into my own system, it's like intuition and fear can be really hard to decipher between, right? Those sensations that we feel in our body, the anxiety that can come up can feel really hard to decipher between what is my actual like higher self intuitive yeses and nos and what is just like my trauma, you know,
Completely.
expressing itself and what is just trauma and fear, saying that I'm not good enough, saying that I can't possibly hold all this. This is too big. This is for people way smarter than me. I'm not the kind of person that can do that. So let's go there. I would be so curious.
Okay.
You mentioned like emotional freedom technique, tapping, body work. Tell us more of like how do we actually move through those emotions that are clouding our intuition and not allowing us to make decisions in our purpose and how to move forward in life from clarity.
Yeah, so many people out there are probably in a place where they're dealing with something like this exactly now in this moment. So, yeah, it's an important topic to talk about. Well, for me, one thing is for sure, we all need to find something that helps us get into our center so we even know what that is. Most of us are walking around, not even in our bodies, not even in our centers. We're in front of our bodies, outside of our bodies, in our heads, like floating around or in anxiety, or our minds are a million different places and we're actually not in our center. So first things first, you got to find that and know where that is and what that is. So we mentioned a few things already. I'm a fan of biohacking and also just like any hacks that are going to us get to where we want to and need to get to faster and quicker, because the world is going so fast right now that we need quicker, faster, better techniques that get us into our center faster, because otherwise we really can't keep up. I mean, like these days has 3 hours a day to like do their meditation and yoga practice. Sorry, like it might last for some time, but it doesn't last forever, and the world is changed now. It's a different place. So like the old techniques are not working in the same way. And so we need to find those better techniques. So I would say, I mentioned EFT already, if you can find some body like movement practice, something that is getting you into your physical body, it has to work for you. It doesn't matter what it is. Any kind of physical movement practice that helps you stop thinking and just start feeling into your physical body. So there's also like something called triangulating is really useful. And that's choosing 3 inanimate objects in the space around you and just noticing all the 3 objects and then feeling the distance between yourself and each object. And that helps you bring yourself somehow, doing that helps you bring yourself into your center of your body in space. So there's something that we can kind of recognize and like, how do I get into my center? And that is, well, how do I get into the center of space? And how do I get into the center of time? Center of space and time equals this present moment. The center of time and present moment, we can listen to the sounds around us, like what's happening in the soundscape around us, and, what's happening with our breath, just noticing our breath, getting into the center of like spatial awareness with the 3 objects. There's lots of different ways, but if we don't have that first, then we don't know where we're trying to get to.
Oh, I love this so much. Okay. As you were sharing, you know me, the Virgo in me is like organizing this into like a 4-step thing. So
Okay,
what I was
awesome.
hearing you share is like, okay, number one, get into your body work, biohacking, anything that gets you back into your body when your mind is like blah, 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 a million miles away. Step 2 is like the emotional release step of like actually releasing the emotions that are clouding your intuition with tapping or emotional freedom technique, anything that just helps you feel your feelings and actually move through and release those parts of us that are clouding that intuition and that knowing when it comes to our purpose. The third step that I was hearing you share is like really coming back to your center and using practices like the triangulating that you described, or using the 5 senses to help just anchor us back into the present moment, into your center with what you see and what you hear and noticing the sounds that surround you, using the breath to come back to your center. What next, right? So once we're back in our bodies, we've released our emotions, we have come back to our center. What else needs to happen for us to really be able to access that intuition? Is there like another layer to it, or something spiritual or something frequency related?
I think that all of us have a central knowing that there isn't somewhere else we need to get to, that we can look inside for that answer. So when we have been able to do those 3 steps, like you so beautifully pointed out and organized for us on the spot. I can't believe it. We don't need to know the whole picture. And I think a lot of us get overwhelmed because, so much involved in our lives, especially, as women. I know there are a lot of women listening to this right now. It's like we want to take everything into account, and we want to take everybody's feelings into account. And we want to take all of the pieces of the puzzle into account before we can make, the decision. But I think that after we center, we can just really ask ourselves what we need to do right now. It's not about like the whole picture is necessarily, but just like what is necessary right now in the moment. And I think that even if it doesn't make sense, it's important to trust that answer of like, what is it that I can do now that I'm open to? What is the next step right now? Or what is good for me right now that feels really good right now for me in the moment? And that moment is going to lead to another moment of clarity. Eventually, the story goes on and the magic unfolds from there.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love that you shared just like trust that innate knowing that we all have. We don't need to know it all. I always say, like, we can't possibly know how to get to the top of the mountain from the very base of the mountain, right? Our mind always wants to get to the top of the mountain. We can't see every twist, every turn, every corner, the multiple paths that we could take to get up the mountain. All our job is to literally take the first step and then the second step. And then from the second step, the third step, but we can't take that fourth step until we've taken the first step. And we can't possibly see the turn that we're going to need to take 100 steps down the road because it's buried in the forest. We're not supposed to see that yet. So I just love to hear that. And, the power of choice as well is like, I think where in the past it's really been hard for me is I'll feel like you said, taking into consideration everything and everyone and feeling like decisions are permanent. One thing that has so eased my anxiety when it comes to living with greater purpose and trusting my intuition, and is my intuition actually right, is knowing that I can make a choice based on my intuition, based on the data that I have available to me in this now moment. Tomorrow, I could always make another choice, right? Based on the intuition that's present on that day. And so it just feels so possible to just like, what's here, what's now, what's available to me. And like you and I, Ash, we have had so many chapters of life, right? And at one point, the journey that we were on of the yogic life and the yogic path and living in ashrams and living in silence and enlightenment was like the ultimate life goal for us. That was so true. And like, I almost sometimes I have this fear, and I'm sure that there's people from our retreats, listening to this. And I'm like, are they going to think I'm a hypocrite because I said, I was meditating 3 hours a day and waking up at 4 a.m. And I'm like, no, in that moment, that was 100% true for me. And I get goosebumps saying that. It was 100% true for me in that moment. And in this now moment, a new chapter, a new phase of life, there's other things that feel 100% true. And so just the power of choice and the power of like, we can have something so true for us in one moment. And I think that applies to purpose as well, is like your purpose can change. And if people, I'm imagining some listeners feeling like, well, this is my purpose and I do love what I do and I should love this. Why is this not fulfilling me in the way that it used to? Or certain self-care practices or meditation, meditation used to be so fulfilling to them and that was such a part of their life purpose, but now it's just not hitting the spot as much. It's like just permission to change. What would you say to that?
Yeah. This has been such a huge part of my journey too, is holding on to an identity, when it's like, it's not the thing anymore, having the drive, like, oh, but this is my purpose. And of course I'm like that as a person. I will hold on. I will find one thing and then I'll go full force into it and just like abandon everything else. And then that's my whole world. And I have blinders on to everything else. And then all of a sudden, it's not like we have a choice when those things change. The things are going to change, just like all things, like all things change, relationships change, life purpose is going to change. I think that as we develop, we're constantly releasing these, I would say, distortion patterns or patterns inside of us that, we're learning through. They're there for a purpose for a certain time. And as we grow, we're releasing these sort of like layers and getting down deeper and deeper to the truth of who we are. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be, it's not linear. Like you're not going to be 10 steps ahead of where you are now, in the service that you're doing now. Necessarily, it could be something completely different, but you're still in your purpose and you're still growing and you're still learning. So I think it's important to not hold on so tightly, to every little thing. I mean, it's good to have obviously desire, and desire is going to spark the motivation and the drive that, you need to accomplish whatever you're accomplishing in that moment. And I think if you have passion, you have drive to do that thing, like freaking yes, like do it, go for it. And then, when you start hitting those like walls of resistance, it's like, just, okay, slow down, take some rest, sleep, and be okay to like surrender and let go and change. I think that like identity, we can hold on to our purpose and it's our identity, but is that the truth of who we are? Not necessarily.
That warms my heart so much hearing that. I feel like that is such an important lesson, that our purpose is not our identity, and there is something so much deeper that runs under that purpose, and that is you, right? The I and the who am I, and that purpose expresses itself through that. But yeah, just when I think of purpose and I think of like Instagram land and just like bro marketing and like, live your purpose, commit, you gotta work hard. No days off.
Yeah.
And I'm just, as you're sharing, my whole system just softens. I'm like, wow, it gets to be so desire led, and living our purpose gets to be intuitive, and it gets to be full of trust and doubt and nuance, and it's dynamic and nonlinear and full of surrender, full of resistance. And yeah, that's the type of purpose that I really want to show up for. So that feels like a perfect little spot for us to start to wrap up, Ash. I'm so grateful for everything you shared. I have 3 little quick hot tip questions for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. What is the number one thing that people can do to improve their wellness today?
Sleep and rest.
Love that. So good.
Need I
so
say
important.
more? It's just sleep. That's it.
So good. So important. Sleep. Such a reset. We need that. I love it. Okay. What would you say? What is your number one secret to living a vibrant life?
The first thing that comes to mind is self-awareness. And I know that's such a boring answer. And this is the second thing, is also a boring answer, but it's a little bit more fun. Exercise.
Ooh, yeah, I love that.
I mean, just basics, right? Just back to basics.
It's so true. We need to go back to the basics. I feel like all these like sexy things and all these fancy techniques and whatnot, like they can only get us so far if we're not sleeping and eating well and exercising well and, practicing self-awareness. That's huge. These are such great answers. And what is the number one book that if the entire world read it, the world would just be a happier, healthier, better place?
Okay, so I think for me, it is Be Love Now by Ram Dass.
Oh.
And the reason I chose that book and not something, I don't know, more current or whatever, I think it's a beautiful story of how Ram Dass meets one person that completely changes his life and changes the lives of so many other people through the power of love. Like basically just through meeting one person, he understands on such a deeper level of what the yoga of love and what the power of love can do for, a human being. And he's able to spread that to the world. So it's a beautiful book.
Yeah, gotta love Ram Dass. He's the best.
Yeah,
such a great book. Oh, thanks for sharing, love. Well, I am so excited for the world to listen to this conversation, and I'm so grateful to you for being here, my dear. We would love to hear, how can listeners find you online? You guys, please check out Ashley, check out her work, check out her frequency sessions and her coaching. But yeah, tell us, where can people connect with you online?
Thank you. Yeah, so you can check my website, and that's ashleypbeasley.com. or Instagram at Ashley Priscilla Beasley. And you can send me a DM or just send me a message and let's start a conversation.
Oh, amazing. And we'll link all of this up in the show notes as well, so it'll be easy to find you. So Ashley and I would love to hear your top takeaways from today's conversation. We'd love to hear, what your relationship to your purpose is and what steps you are going to take next to live a more purposeful, aligned life. So please do send Ashley a DM on Instagram, send me a DM. We'd love to hear your top takeaways and any questions you have. So thank you so much again, Ash, for being here. And we'll see you back
Thank
for
you,
another
Lindsay.
episode real soon. Take care.
Yeah, I love you guys. Take care. Thank you.